Nothing But the Words, episode number 26 Six Ways to Hit Your Writing Goals.
Welcome to Nothing But the Words, the podcast that gives you everything you need to know to write a phenomenal book. Now, here's your host, your author coach, Candace L. Davis.
Hey there, and welcome to Nothing But the Words. I'm your author coach, Candace L. Davis. This week, one of my one-on-one coaching clients released his first book, and I won't share the title yet because I haven't gotten his permission to share it. But once I do, hopefully I can have him on the podcast to talk about his writing journey. In the meantime, I want to share with you something from his story that I think can be helpful to anyone who's trying to write a book. This young man came to me with an idea to tell his story in a way that would help other people increase their self-worth and self-confidence and create the kind of success they want in their lives, however they defined it. It took him a few months longer than he wanted it to take to write his book, but he never quit and he never got completely off track. He did get pushback from some of his family and friends who didn't want him to tell his full story. They were afraid they would be reflected in a poor light. And while he was careful not to paint anyone as a villain, he still kept going and he still told his story the way he thought he should tell it. As we got closer to his launch date, he had to do a lot more writing. He was writing more than ever. But each week, he sent me his content to review exactly as we had agreed. So if he said he was going to send me 3 sections on Friday, I had those 3 sections. He was super focused. And this young man is not a writer. His craft, he's excellent at his craft, but it has nothing to do with writing. But he really focused on hitting his goals. And I don't know, maybe he finished writing 5 minutes before his work was due to me every week. I honestly don't know and honestly didn't care because he was putting it in. He got his book finished and he's enjoying a successful launch right now as I record this. And I'm excited for him, but I'm also excited for you because in the same way that he achieved his writing goals, one after the other, ultimately resulting in his goal of writing and publishing his book and launching it well, so can you. You can achieve your writing goals as well. So I'm going to share 6 steps to achieve your writing goals. And you're grown up, you're smart, you understand that this way is not the only way, but this is a way that works. So the first step in achieving your writing goals is to start setting some writing goals. They can be based on time or they could be productivity based. A time-based goal might be something like writing 1 hour every day. This works for some people, but it's not my favorite way to set goals. Usually you need to be either very focused or already have developed a substantial writing habit, a regular writing habit, in order for time-based goals to work for you. And here's why. If you set a goal to write for a specific amount of time, it's easy to sit on your computer or with your notebook and pen, if that's how you write, for an hour and still not actually get any writing done. It's very easy to do that and then be able to check off on your list that you did an hour, quote unquote, of writing time and not have actually accomplished any writing. If you set productivity-based goals, instead, you're much more likely to see yourself making progress. So, for example, you might decide that you want to write 300 words a day. That's about a page. Or you might decide you want to write 3 pages a day. It doesn't really matter how you calculate the number because you're still going to be making progress. So set writing goals. And no, it doesn't have to be every day, but consistency is a great way to get to your end goal. The second step in hitting your writing goals is to deal with the thoughts and feelings that you have about writing your book. This is essential, even though we often skip over this step. Let's say you have a goal that you plan to write 1,000 words a day. That's a reasonable goal. It's about 3 pages. Well, what do you really believe about that goal? When do you plan to write? Where will you be? How will you prevent interruptions? And most importantly, do you believe this goal is achievable? Now, you have to be honest with yourself. You could say, I want to write 1,000 words a day because it sounds great to other people and that's what your best friend is writing. But if you don't believe your goal is achievable, it's going to result in you feeling probably hopeless, probably distracted, probably bored, probably overwhelmed, some feeling that doesn't feel great and doesn't inspire you to write, and it'll be really difficult for you to consistently meet that goal. Choose goals that you believe in, define how you will make them happen, and practice believing thoughts that support you in reaching your goals. The third step is to adjust your goals as needed. So there are times when you will need to change your goal. Don't be so married to it and locked in that you won't change it when circumstances require it. If your goal is unreasonable for you, don't hesitate to change it. You might not know until you sit down and start trying to reach your goal that it's really not reasonable. If you committed to writing 3,000 words a day, for example, that's about 10 pages. But if you figure out that that's going to take you 5 hours a day and you don't have 5 hours a day to commit to your book, do not feel bad about lowering your goal. It's a lot better to have a goal you can meet rather than one that constantly frustrates you because you never hit it. Those kinds of goals just lead to feelings of guilt and shame because you aren't keeping your promises to yourself. Now, if you don't really believe your goal is possible for you, even if you haven't tried it yet, I recommend cutting it in half. If your instinct is to say you'll write 1,000 words a day, but you're not sure you can actually do it, go ahead and just commit to 500. Practice believing you can write 500 words a day. Practice proving to yourself over and over again that you can write 500 words a day until you hit that goal more often than you miss it. And then you can consider raising it up to the original 1,000 words, or even just 750 words that you initially wanted to start with. Step number 4 in achieving your writing goals is to expect writing your book to take work. If it was effortless, everybody would be an author. We'd all be sitting around cranking out books, having a great time. Writing well requires planning, it requires thought, and it requires plenty of rewriting. Sometimes you don't know how to fix it. Sometimes you have to fix it and fix it and fix it again, except that your first product will not be good. A first draft is never good. It's never your best work, and you don't want to put out less than your best work. That's why it's the first draft, not the final draft. Don't fool yourself into thinking either that writing a book is easy for everyone else. Now, I've written more than 24 books at this point in my career. And yes, writing books has gotten easier for me over the years, but it is always work. It requires effort and an investment of energy. That does not mean you can't enjoy it. You can enjoy work. You can enjoy it. But sometimes you won't. Sometimes it will just feel arduous. It will just feel like you need to muscle through. And there are moments where you should just step back. But there are times when you do have to meet a deadline. There are times when you do just have to do the hard part. Expect writing your book to take work. And when you set that expectation for yourself and you run into some actual work that you have to do, and it feels like you're using new muscles and it feels like you're making an effort, you won't be shocked. You won't be thrown off, and you'll be able to continue going. Step number 5 in achieving your writing goals is to get some support. Now, I used to tell people to get accountability for their writing goals, right? Share your writing goals with me or with someone else, and the accountability will keep you motivated. But here's what I found. For most people, especially new authors, accountability alone is just not enough. Most of us can find excuses for not achieving our goals, even when there's someone else waiting to hold us accountable. Think about it. Think about how many people announce their New Year's resolutions every year on social media. Weight loss being the most obvious example. So your friend posts that this is the year she's finally getting fit, and you feel a little bit uncomfortable when you see the post because you're pretty sure she posted the same thing for the last 3 years. Still, you want to be encouraging, so every time she shares a milestone, she lost 10 pounds, she ran 4 miles, whatever it is, you leave a comment to let her know you're on her side and you believe in her. And after a few weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2, everything's going fine. She's walking more miles. She's dropping more pounds. But then as time goes on, we're entering March now, she posts less and less about her fitness goal. And then she stops posting about it altogether. She doesn't mention it anymore, and neither do you. She likely thought that sharing her goals and her progress on social media in such a public way, right now everyone's expecting her to stick to it, would provide her with a level of accountability that would help her stay focused. But who was going to nudge her when she didn't post about her progress? That seems rude. Who checked in when she didn't show up the way she had committed to showing up? Who was available to encourage her when she was looking at a box of donuts her coworkers brought to the office and thinking about whether or not just one donut would be okay? Who could she turn to with her questions or her concerns when getting up to work out at 5 o'clock every morning just started to get old? For most people, accountability alone is just not enough. When you're trying to hit a goal in an area that's completely new to you, when you're trying to build new habits, you do need some accountability, mostly from yourself, but you also need support. If you're new to writing, I highly encourage you to get real support to help you reach your writing goals. It can make all the difference between finishing your book on time and perhaps never finishing it all. Of course, I'm biased. I'm an author coach, but I believe that coaching is one of the very best ways to get a combination of accountability and support. I get coaching in other areas of my life. So I have a business coach. I have a life coach. I get coaching in areas where I feel like I need accountability and support. In Short Books, Big Results, my group coaching program, my clients always have a way to reach me and get support. When they have writer's block or they can't figure out how to make time to write, they can email me or they can join me in our weekly office hours, and I'm there to answer their questions and help them find solutions so they don't stay stuck. They can keep going. My one-on-one coaching clients have even more ways to reach me. When they need support, they can email me or text me, or if they're really in a pinch, we can jump on a quick call. I make myself available for my clients in those ways because I recognize how important it is to get not just accountability, but to really have some support along the way. So you can find information about my programs in the show notes at CandiceLDavis.com/26. I'll put the information there. That might be the support you need, but there are many ways that you can get support. You can hire another author coach. You can join another writing program. You can join a writer's workshop. Whatever it is that you feel will give you the support that you need to keep going when it gets hard, and there will be moments when it gets hard, find that support and get it. So here's what you need to remember. Set writing goals. There's no way to achieve writing goals if you're not actually setting any. Deal with your thoughts and feelings around writing and publishing your book. You got to believe in your ability to do that. You have to practice believing that this is going to happen for you and that you're going to accomplish it. Adjust your writing goals as needed. Don't beat yourself up. If you need to change your goals, change them. Just make sure you keep making progress. Expect writing your book to take work. It is not just something you sit down and breeze through, especially the first time. It requires effort and energy. Get support, not just accountability. And let me add one more thing that I didn't include in the list. Celebrate your successes every single time you hit your writing goals. Even if you just give yourself a literal pat on the back, reach your hand over your shoulder and pat yourself on your back, or go on to social media and congratulate yourself there, not in a way to get accountability necessarily, but to celebrate that, hey, I hit 50 pages today on my book. It's a milestone. Celebrate all of those successes and you will be more motivated to keep going. That's all for this week's episode. I'm your author coach, Candice L. Davis. If you enjoyed this episode, I would ask that you leave me a wonderful review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Reviews make a huge difference in new listeners finding the show. Thanks for listening to Nothing But the Words. I'll see you next time.